what are the black barriers to success in getting to this room? All right. What are some of the things that you feel hold other men back from achieving, their next level?
Starting now with all of the things that you guys said, investing, making friends, not taking things so seriously, you're good enough. Start now understanding those things and live accordingly, and it's gonna be all right. That's that. And so for me, like one of the barriers, I feel like one of the main barriers is this mentality. I think it's very popular, particularly with social media, to get on social media and be like, work hard, you gotta grind, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. And what I find is a lot is when it's really time to do that, everybody not ready to do that. It's just kind of popular to say it looks good.
So you talking about execution?
Execution. So to start now, do it. Like the things that are gonna make us great are often not the most fun things to do. And we just got to do it. So it's just a mentality and understanding that, what was the thing, what do you say? Live like no one else so that someday you can live like no one else. And I mean that in every realm, not just like putting your pennies away. So yeah.
Hey, look, man. I'm gonna add a part into it, where my addition or my answer to the question. I think it's definitely mindset, and it's the inability to actually understand what hard work is. Like, see, it's about working hard, but then it's learning how to work smart. But until you figure out how to work smart, you have to work hard. And probably I'm curious for you all. When I was getting my PhD, I was taking my qualifying exams. That's like what we have to take to become doctors, like what physicians have to take when they have to take their exam, when lawyers have to take the bar. We take ours before we actually write that dissertation, that long document. And I remember I used to shut down Starbucks. I was there for so long, like they just started being like, you live here. Of course, the police got called on me one time, like too. I'm standing, but beyond that, right? My point is, I was working 60, 80, 100, 120 hours a week. Most people aren't willing to do that. Most people think that your hourly value is so much higher than it actually is. The market determines that, but that happens over time. And so when you working, like I know down to the mark. I mean, when you working 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week, those are 14, 16-hour days. You know what I'm saying? Those are 14, 16-hour days. If you working 84 hours a week, you know what I'm saying? You're working 14-hour days. And the way I think about it is 24 hours. You can actually still get your 8 hours of sleep. People aren't willing to work those amount of hours, right? But then they expect to be where we at. Not realizing that we work like that then, and then sometimes we still work like that now. Right? We don't always have to do it, but we did it for a very, very long time. And as y'all know, when you starting up something new, I don't know about y'all, but I know about y'all. It clicks back in my head. I'm like, go mode, 80 to 100 hours. Now I'm working smarter, so I know I don't have to do that for a long time. But people are not willing to do that. It is a reason why less than 1% of all professors become full professors before the age of 40, which I did at the age of 39. So when I think about these questions, man, it's the mindset and it's the inability to realize you have to work. There is no way around it. Whether you want to be a professional ball player, whether you want to be a singer, whether you want to be a YouTube star, but being real, those are so rare that find a profession that you want to do, but realize you have to work at it.
There's nothing lucky about that. We prepared ourselves to be where we are today. And it took a lot of hard work. It took an extreme... I made senior vice president at my company last year, and it took years of me, preparing for the moment when that opportunity was going to arise, and I met the moment. But listen, I had to make a lot of sacrifices to get to that point in my life. And again, when that opportunity arose, I was prepared and I got the reward. But you'll never know how much work it took for me to get to that point. It took a lot of hard work, and thankfully I have a wife and a son who were understanding, knowing that the goal that I had and that I felt like I had in my fingertips. I just needed a little bit more of a push, and they allowed for me to do whatever I needed to do to get to that point, and I did. And celebrating with them was absolutely the best thing. So
Yeah, what I'll say is 18-year-old, one other thing, my grandmother told me to smile more. So, Grandma, I'm telling to say that. I didn't smile enough. The other thing, what I'll say to answer your question, I would say pride and ego. Pride and ego are two of the barriers that we have to overcome in order to, I guess, push through and get to the level of success that we're trying to get to. What I'll tell you is that finding your wolf pack and being vulnerable. This isn't a chest bump contest that we have going on here. The whole time that we've been here, we've shared some vulnerable information. And that's how we get better. We learn from one another, through our vulnerability. But in order to get to that point, we've got to get over the pride, we got to get over the ego, and we have to find a group of people that we can be vulnerable around and get some valuable information from. Absolutely. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I keep my answer simple. Stop counting other people's money. Because it's so easy, especially in the age of social media. Oh, you and your wife went here. Oh, you and your wife went here. Oh, you got the backyard with the. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Focus on what you got going on. Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And don't count nobody else's money.
Yes,
Because people get so envious and they lose track of where your focus at. Be happy Be happy. Be happy. And go work.
Yes.
And stop working at, oh man, Karan got that big old court.
Yeah.
Man, my man got a court in his.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think people just lose track of what's really important.
Indeed. Indeed.
The great part about knowing a lot of people who enjoy what they do for a living, they become successful.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do is say, oh man, Ray got the big,
Yeah.
my man and his family good. And that's that.
Yep.
So many people just get caught up in society.
Yep.
So celebrating others, right?
Yeah.
Are there any other barriers to Black success?
Oh man, I mean, other than the ones that everybody knows, I think Rashawn got it on the shirt. Obviously there's the racism aspect of it. It is real. It's systematic. You'd be a fool if you didn't. If you're Black, African American, you don't recognize that it's there. I think you have to develop a mental. But we're all talking about mental. But you also have to develop a mental to get over those type of things. I mean, the things that for me, as I was, working my way up, and I'm sure Control and everybody in here who was working their way up the proverbial corporate ladder has dealt with that. You don't, you have to develop an ability also, and maybe it's a skill, to get outside of yourself sometimes in order to focus on the bigger goal, right? So the bigger goal for me had always been, hey, I'm seeking these positions only because I know money is a tool that I'm going to use to execute my purpose, what I believe my purpose is. And, so I'm not going to go all through that. I mean, a lot of people, most people here know that journey for me, but I think that's an obstacle. And the obstacle not of like where I started out with racism, but it's how you deal with those issues, how you may have to become a different person in the daytime, than who you want to be, who you want to be in the nighttime, so to speak, with nighttime being with your family and so on and so forth. So I think that there's always the challenge that another challenge that so we got that challenge. The other challenge I believe that I came in contact with is, as I'm just gonna say it, there wasn't many of us that were there to help each other out, right? It was kind of like almost what I was saying before, as far as like make more friends was my 18-year-old self. nobody wanted to make friends when we got to that level.
Yeah.
And I would literally email people that were at my level, who I felt like had the same goals as I did, to reach back and pull others up and so on and so forth. And I say, hey, let's go to lunch. And it'd be crickets. They look at me like I'm crazy. So I think that was an obstacle as well. Whereas like, as I started to reach different rungs, I started to find myself alone in those rungs and not able to look across. And when I saw somebody who looked like me and I thought was in the same mindset, I couldn't even iron sharpens iron with them because they would not even return my lunch request. So I think that was the biggest. I don't know if that was a challenge more so than a disappointment for me when I made it to the top in the government and looked left and right, and nobody really. I felt like maybe people didn't really want to buddy up like I wanted to, because we could have really done something. I truly believe that individually, we're like the open hand, but obviously the 5 fingers and a closed fist is way stronger than 5 fingers open, and that's what I was trying to do. I think that was a huge challenge.
I think a significant barrier to black success. Excuse me. A significant barrier to black success is early education. Okay. I know it's a bit. That's a little granular. I'm a product of public schools. Proud of it. Proper education is still not free if it's done, to the level that we would expect. Right. I think that as our generations go on, right, my hope is that from a financial perspective, the education of the next generation become the financial responsibility of that generation, the financial responsibility, right? We got all dads. Most of us are dads. We have the time thing down. We understand that as a generation, right? Millennials, right? We understand where to put our time. We need to work to figure out where to put our money for the next generation, in terms of education, in terms of early education. And I think it matters. I think, Dr. Ray loves the numbers, and I'm willing to bet that there are numbers that say that early education is a huge difference maker in the outcome of a human being's life, regardless of race, gender, creed, right? I'm willing to bet. So anywho, that's what I think is a barrier that, we'll continue to get better at.
Yo, what's up? My Marcus.
Hey, look. First off, Marcus can introduce himself. Well, so Marcus Bullock, similar to some of the other ones, our kids have been linked up for a very, very long time, and Marcus just has a story, y'all, that is just. It's just. You talk about redemption. You talk about amazing. But beyond that, he's just an amazing person, amazing family person. Like when I say family person, not just dad, but like when you see Marcus, his whole family, like his whole family with him. He sent me a birthday video the other day, which I really appreciate. And the whole family was in the joint. Not just the wife, not just the kids, everybody, the mama, the sisters, the cousins. He was like, hey, tell Ray happy birthday. So, but I'll let you tell your own story, but I'll say, on the entrepreneurial side, people can learn so much from you, and even this convo, because of your trajectory, I always just yearn to hear you give your perspective. So thank you. And I'll say this too. Maybe I should have led with this. This dude got a TEDx talk that's about to hit 2 million views. Yes, this is who we got in the house. This is who we got. So when this brother talks, it's money. We getting it for free. So, I didn't mean to put how you come down here talking. Just, what I'm saying? So we got to realize who we got in the room. But tell your story, your flick shop story without, because you tell it so much better than everybody else.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. So I'm always grateful to be in these houses. I'm gonna start from the back and go to like some of the barriers. So I don't know, man. Like I'm this is all new for me too. You know what I mean? And like I think the folks who know a little bit about my background, I'm gonna talk a little bit about like how I got to this basement. But like this basement is new for me. This is very new for me. So I'd be pressed to be in these environments to soak up all of this, all of this genius. We went to breakfast one time and I was like, yo, I'm just so excited to be able to just have conversations with people who look like me, who I'm able to learn from and be. I'm unapologetic about saying, yo, look, I'm trying to shut up and listen inside of these kinds of circles because I remember one of the first times we even went out to the bar, like I'm like, yo, I'm excited. I'm starting this new investing in my children and education. And you know what I mean? Like just listening to everybody else is just dope to be in rooms like this. So I'm always excited to be able to be, yeah, I mean, I'm from this area. I was born and raised here. I was born at PG Hospital, grew up in Northeast DC, moved back down to Forestville. In my sophomore year of high school, I carjacked somebody at Springfield Mall, pulled a gun on the dude, told him to get out of his car. He got out of his car. Me and my man, we get in the car, we speed off, leave dude standing in the parking lot. That decision that night landed me in handcuffs the very next day. I got arrested for the carjacking. They certified us both as adults. I was 15, my boy was 16. The judge sentenced me to 23 years to life as a result of it. Told me they're going to spend 15 of them and leave me to serve 8. So I grew up in prison, serving the next 8 years of my life in prison. Growing up there was interesting, and there's a whole story and backstory around that. And I love these kinds of conversations because I'm sometimes blessed to be able to bring some of these conversations back to some of my fellas who just they haven't graduated to the basement quite yet. And it's dope for me, but I like to pause there when I get a chance to talk to people, especially people that look like me, because it's so much dopeness that's sitting inside those cells right now. You know what I mean? Like so much brilliance. Like I would walk around the rec yard and I would listen to these men who would feed me. And I was the wild, because I was a kid. I was a kid in adult prisons. You know, and the way my judge sentenced me, they were maximum security prisons. So I'm the youngest person in the rec yard, and everybody else got 50, 60, 70 years. I got 8 years. I'm thinking my world is going to end. And because everybody's beefing with this person and beefing with that person, and everybody carrying around knives, like that became my life. Now I'm the dude that's got a lawnmower blade taped to my leg, you know what I mean, ready to go to war. And my boys, they like, yo, bro, you bugging. You about to go home in 8 years. Like, you go home in a couple of years. You act like you got 100 years, you know what I mean? You ready to go to war with some honey buns? Yo, you still get business from your mom, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, bro, you still got somebody that's willing to press 0 on the other end of that phone call to accepting those rates, no matter how much they cost, you know what I mean? Like, and you ready to beef with some dudes over some honey buns. You bugging, you know what I mean? And those were the men who legit job like saved my life, you know what I mean? And so when I came home from prison, trying to find a way to get a job, that was like the first goal, try to find a job. Finally found a job, I met a paint store. This paint store, they give me a shot. It's a little bit more than minimum wage. I was super psyched to get my mom's house, you know. My last grade completed was the 9th grade. I never really thought that I would get employed by someone who would put me in a higher level position. I always knew I had to create those opportunities. You know what I mean? But I didn't have. Not only did I not have capital, but I didn't have the social capital to help me, to mentor me through the ideas to execution phases. And that purgatory would leave me in a space where I was still optimistic about potentially meeting somebody at the paint store that would be that mentor that will allow for me to be able to understand how to take some of those same stock market tip games I would play back in St. Bride's Correctional Center, or how I told myself when I first came home, I remember I read the Virginia Pilot, such long tangents. I went and read the Virginia Pilot one day. I'm at St. Bride's Correctional. I got like 3 years left. I'm like about to turn 20. It's crazy. I went through puberty in prison. I was so young, you know what I mean? I'm about to turn 20, and I done did almost 5 years already. I'm about to turn 20, you know what I mean? And I remember getting a Virginia Pilot. I was in St. Bride's. St. Bride's in one of the 7 cities down in Virginia. And on the cover, it was like this new developer that was building a hotel in Virginia Beach. And I was like, yo, wait a minute. It's a person that can own a hotel? People own hotels? Where you even call to buy a hotel? How do you even start that process of owning a hotel? And that was so mind-blowing to me. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna build a hotel. That's it. I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna own a hotel. You know what I mean? And then I got a subscription to Condé Nast Traveler magazine. So then I'm reading through the magazines and I'm learning about these different islands and these different places, and I'm reading articles about a specific kind of watch, and everybody's rapping about Rolexes, but now I'm learning about a Vacheron Constantine. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. People pay how much for what? You know what I mean? For timepieces? Like, this is like a whole exposure thing that I was excited about coming home to be a part of another world. And I knew I didn't want to do it, but getting back on the streets. Because I knew I had fellas who would, I ain't tell. I went to prison at 15 and I ain't snitch on nobody. You know what I mean? And I knew that people want to show me love. Cause that's just the street life, you know. You know what I mean? I ain't snitch. It's like, oh, yo, look, you get whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, cause we know if you get late, you ain't gonna tell nobody. You know what I mean, right? But I knew like I had to figure out something else, and I wanted to go home and do something else, and I get back into the game. One company gave me a shot. They're like, yo, look, we working on a project. Can you take? I'm like, I can take on any project. It doesn't matter, right? Mind you, I'm painting kitchens, right? They're like, yo, can you take on this project? We've been on it. Do you have your MBE certification? I'm like, yeah, I got my MBE certification. What are you talking about? Yeah, I got that. Get back to the car. What is the MBE certification? You know what I mean? I go through the process of getting this MBE certification and lands me on a project to paint BWI Airport. And that was the project that completely changed my entire life. 3-year contract with a 2-year option. It allowed me to be like, yo, deuces to the paint store. I can run this company full time now. I can hire other people. I started hiring other people. Now they come into the office like, yo, just letting you know, Mr. Bullock, I got a felony. I'm like, you bugging? I got 3 felonies. For real? You hired. Like, yo, you know, you understand my jokes when I talk about commissary. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love this. We good. Yeah, you know what I mean? And now I got employees, like they all working in the airport. That was a whole thing of trying to manage that contract. Anyway, but now I'm starting to get larger contracts and I turned to construction company. My boys who I grew up in prison with, they hit me like, yo, you living your best life out there, bro. Like, you traveling, you having this thing, you got married? Like, yo, this is crazy. You're not sending us no pictures like your mom used to send you pictures when you were in. Why aren't you sending pictures? And that's where the idea came to launch what now is called FlickShop. So I built the app that allows our families the ability to take a picture, add some text on the picture, press send, and we take that picture and text and print it on a postcard and we ship it to any person in any jail, any prison in the country. And so as we as we connect families, the goal has now been, first it was like, I want to connect back with my friends. I ain't gonna lie. It's dope now and I can tell a story and it's cool. But when I first launched, I was running a construction business. My goal was to try to help you understand why you should get this Brazilian volcanic cherry granite countertop, you know what I mean? And it's $85,000 kitchen remodel, you know what I mean? Like that was my goal. It was never to build this thing that now has become, FlickShop. But after connecting a couple of families, and seeing that it could grow, I'm like, oh, this is dope. We can build something from this. You know what I mean? And even then, back then, I would never tell anybody I went to prison. Never in a million years. The last thing as I slide that volcanic cherry granite countertop proposal across your table, the last thing you want to think of is the dude's about to charge me 85 bands for this kitchen remodel, just did a bid and was at St. Bride's Correctional Center. You know what I mean? Like the trust level goes down. So learning to articulate myself, trying to figure out how to build the soft skills that were necessary in order to be able to execute on the salesmanship hard skills I knew I had was always a barrier because I didn't know how to make that adjustment and where the lines were blurred and how I could continue to be my authentic self while also figuring out a way to catch the bag. That was always a challenge for us. But as we continue to grow, I learned how to do that. And it took me about 10 years to run that company. But after that construction company continued to grow, I took a bunch of cash out of that construction company, launched FlickShop, built the mobile app, and now we connected 170,000 families around the country. Yeah.
Marcus Bullock, fellas. Marcus Bullock.
You want gas it, you gas it.
No, man. I'm straight legit, bro. Look, I'm telling y'all, all these people talk about what they can't do. The fears that we have, the failures. When you hear this brother talk, man, I be ready to run through some shit. You know what I'm saying? I be like, whatever I'm dealing with is nothing. And I think that's the thing. Everybody gets caught up in what they're going through without realizing that life continues. It's not the end. Okay, this isn't the biggest thing that's ever gonna happen in life. And I think sometimes we get caught up in doing that. So another question I got for y'all: how do you dream? Do you still dream? Like when you a kid, you dream, but you get older, and the social norms get put on you. And you start having blinders. You start having barriers. So when we talk about these barriers to success, but it's more so barriers on dreaming. And are you the kind of person, and I go through this too, where dreams pop in my head and I'm like, oh shoot, nah, that's crazy. Like I don't even, it spooks me out to even recall what just popped in my head. So when we get older and you become successful and things get good and they get comfortable, and yeah, you continue to work hard, they get uncomfortable, but the dreaming, where does that still come in in a way where like you hear your kids say something and you like, that was the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, because they have no limits on them yet. I mean, do you get limited by society, as we would say, or do you still dream?
So I would say that when you talk about dreams and you just talk about limits, right? We now call this place the basement, and now that he introduced the concept, right? But we have to actually say the basement versus the barbershop, right? And in the barbershop, I think many times us as African Americans, especially men, we're singular focused, right? It's Michael Jordan or LeBron. It's Jay-Z or Nas, right? We kind of go against what's going on in the basement, which is cross perspective, right? So the way we learn, the Bible says iron sharpens iron, right? Is that you're not wrong for your perspective because this is how you made it, right? But I can learn from that. Whereas in a barbershop, no, you wrong because nah, they ain't has gun. So when you talk about dreaming, right? I believe that your dreams become bigger based on the cross perspective in the life you're living, all right? The people that you bring around yourself, defining the genius in every person. For a person that went from prison to owning his own business, for another person that actually became a part of the 0.001%, you probably got a better chance of making it play for the Knicks than being, doing what Ray Sean's is doing right now, right? But the basement, the collective, strategic partnerships. I'm a big believer in, we're in the information age, but we're coming out of that because everyone has the information. So what's the next level once you actually have the information? That's the partnerships. Okay, what do you do best? Okay, what does he do best, right? So as Black people, we have to get out of the singular focus and we have to start coming together, like Steph and Clay. You know what I'm saying? We're going to complement each other now and we're going to find a Draymond, He's a shooter, he's a shooter. Well, we need another guy to bring this all together. Okay, so I think the dreams come from cross perspective, and when you get together and you kind of become vulnerable, so to speak, and speak your truth and understand that you're not right or wrong, it's your perspective, and I can learn from that. Yeah.
What I'll add to that, it's different now for me because, we jokingly say this. Back some of my other homies, we say that I'm on the second half of my life, so I got less years remaining than I've actually lived. That's kind of the joke. But so at this point for me, I'm more, I have more naps than dreams. And the reason why I say that, and I'm saying that jokingly, but I'm saying that because I can't, I don't have the time that I felt that I had once had at a time. At one moment when I was in my 20s, when I was in my teens, where I felt like I had all this time available. So I'm moving with a sense of urgency now. So it's not, I think about it, I put it on paper and I'm figuring out whether it's something that I can tackle and where did it goes on my list of priorities or on the list of my to-do items that I mentioned previously. So I do dream, but more for me, what's more important for me in my life is what I can get done more than what, the dreams are there. And I know Billy made a reference to having imagination and thinking about things, I have that, but, like I said, I need to, for me, my time is so precious right now. I have to get some things scratched off that I've already thought about and, and knock out some of the things that I'm thinking about right now. So.
I think our dreams are well, I'll say mine, have evolved over the years. Initially, coming into this world of financial, and Keith can kind of probably speak to that, there are probably 15,000 financial advisors at the firm that I work for. There are less than 150 people who look like me in that firm. And of those 150, there's probably 30 that are senior vice president. So of the 15,000, 30 Black African Americans. So that was initially, that was a dream of mine to become senior vice president. monetary dreams. I had dreams of, man, especially coming from poor back, man, I want to make it to be a millionaire. I want to have $1 million. Okay, accomplish that dream. $2 million. I want to accomplish that dream. And then you get to a point where, or again for me, my dreams became evolved more into dreams for something I can't necessarily control. Dreams for my son. Dreams of having my son kind of grow up and not have, well, he won't experience the things, thankfully. He won't experience the things that I've experienced in my life. But having my son grow up in a world that's fair to him, that's going to give him a fair shot. And it's almost a nightmare instead of a dream, because I have no control of that. And I know the world that we live in. I know that world is not going to treat him fair. I know he's living in a world where he's cute now, but he's 11. So he's at that age where in the next year or two, if not already, he becomes a threat. He's public enemy number one, and in the eyes of many, and many that who are in positions of power and positions that can harm him. So those dreams that I had have evolved into dreams where I'm dreaming and praying, a lot of praying. My wife and I do. That he's going to be safe, and he's going to be okay. He's going to grow up in a world where he gets a fair shake, and he's not harmed by anyone that's in a position of power that could hurt him or kill him. So my dreams for me have stopped, and now all of my dreams are really for my son and his well-being. So.